latest football news,
engaging debates,
and fascinating opinions.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Yes, and welcome to Pitchside Talk, a brand new show on IO Radio. I'm George. Well, if you know my voice very well, I'm from What Trends on a Tuesday morning, and I'm joined by my two co-presenters. And who are they?
Yeah, you're here with Piers.
And I'm Dan.
Yes, so what have we got coming up in the show today?
So today we'll be speaking about the Champions League and the upcoming fixtures. We'll speak about the Premier League and the interesting FA Cup, and we've got a very good debate coming up as well.
Oh, very jam-packed show, isn't it, guys?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's written in stars, isn't it?
The best place in Ipswich to hear the latest football debates, Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Yes, you did hear that right. This is the best place in Ipswich to hear the latest football news here on Pitchside Talk on IO Radio. And now we're going to talk about the Champions League. And we're going to first head to the Battle of Britain, aren't we, guys?
Yeah.
And, well, Tottenham stunned a very lacklustre Man City. What went wrong, really, in that game for Man City, Piers?
Yeah, it was a really interesting game. I think everybody who watched it might have been just a little bit disappointed. I think we expected a little bit more of a goal fest, and especially we were expecting more of a dominant Manchester City. But they didn't really just get going. I think they had a funny VAR penalty, which obviously Aguero missed. But I was surprised with players like Aguero and Sterling themselves. They didn't seem to really get going, which was quite surprising for Man City, I think.
Well, Dan, there was a very big moment in the game for Tottenham.
Yeah.
Apart from Son scoring a goal, Harry Kane going off injured. It's the left ankle again, which he went out with. How much is this going to damage really Tottenham's run in the Champions League and also their Premier League?
Yeah, I think it's going to damage them a lot. I mean, the form that he's been in throughout this year and years before, it's crucial for Tottenham. And I think this injury is really going to hurt them, especially in the Champions League. Maybe in the Premier League, I think they can still make top four, but it's going to be a massive miss for Tottenham, definitely.
It's going to be a big miss. Well, heading back to Man City, I did say they've been lacklustre. They've been lacklustre last few games, really. They've only been scraping victories, one against Brighton, which we'll come on to later on the show. And we've only been winning by 2 goals, which is a weird thing for Man City. Usually they beat teams like 7, but they've been winning by 2. Are they starting to feel a bit of the pressure, really? Because there's quadruple talk, there's all sorts of talk. Are they starting to feel the pressure, Piers?
Yeah, I think they have really, because, well, they haven't won their last 5 Champions League ties against English teams. Obviously, They had the big loss against Liverpool last year. But I think they might be starting to feel the pressure. I think it might have been because they've been surprised, and I think everyone's been surprised about how well Liverpool have been doing. Because obviously they didn't even concede a goal last night, which is quite a surprise from them. So I think Man City might start feeling the pressure now.
What about you, Piers? Dan, what do you think? Do you think Man City's feeling the pressure a bit?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, everyone's talking about the quadruple that they might be getting. So I feel like they're maybe feeling the pressure a bit to get that. I've maybe thought a little bit that they're focusing on the league. I know they're in the FA Cup final, but I feel like they need to focus on the league if they want to finish top above Liverpool.
Well, heading from the Battle of Britain up to Liverpool, as we sort of mentioned, Liverpool played Porto last night. A very convincing match for Liverpool. They won 2-0. You sort of have watched the game, Piers, as well. Did they look really good last night for Liverpool?
I was really surprised at Liverpool. You know, like when they played Roma last season, they score these amazing goals, but they always end up conceding. But in Liverpool's last 2 ties at home in the Champions League, they haven't conceded at all. It's amazing to see them play, and I think, why can't they win it this year?
I was actually about to ask that question. Do you think they're one of the favourites to win it now? They're sort of looking very quietly confident after beating Bayern Munich in a very convincing game.
Yeah.
Do you think they are one of the favourites?
I do. I think they're definitely one of the favourites. The way they performed yesterday, they probably would have been favourites anyway, but I was very surprised. They usually concede in games like this, and they didn't. They're solid at the back now, and yeah, why can't they win the Champions League?
Why can't they? That makes me feel so excited inside as a Liverpool fan. Well, talking about the fixtures tonight, we have 2 big fixtures as well. We'll head to Ajax versus Juventus. Can Ajax put off another sort of blinder like they did against Real Madrid?
I'm not sure. Obviously, Ajax are at home first, aren't they? Which
yes.
I think they can scrape something tonight. I really think they can, because obviously Juventus had trouble at Atletico Madrid. So I think they've got a chance at winning tonight, but overall, I'm not sure if they will.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think Juventus' side is very strong. I was very surprised with how they did against Real Madrid, but over 2 legs, I don't know. Can't see them getting through.
Okay, well, heading to the other game, which is the biggest game of all of them, can Manchester United or Ole Gunnar Solskjaer climb another mountain by beating Barcelona? Is the dream going on for them? Can they do it?
I'm not too sure about Manchester United because they lost against Wolves, and then they haven't seemed as good as when he started. Because obviously he went unbeaten for about 9-10 games. But I mean, if they've got the belief in the players, you've seen what teams have done before in the Champions League. Look at Ajax, for example. So why not? Why can't Manchester United beat them? I think they might win.
Yeah, it's a hard one because Barca has got such a strong squad. Man United are kind of, they've lost a few games recently. I just feel like Barcelona's squad is too strong. I don't think they'll get through. I think Barcelona will win.
Wow, you don't think? Okay, well, when we come back, we're going to be talking about the Premier League because that's another jam-packed week, and also the FA Cup because we're going to combine both of them together because there's so much action. We can't even miss it, can we? Stay up to date with the latest footy news.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Yes, you did hear that right. Stay up to date with the latest footy news on Pitchside Talk on IO Radio. And now welcome back. We're now going to go jump straight into the Premier League. We had a very jam-packed sort of action we had. Starting off with Liverpool. They pulled off a brilliant comeback at Southampton. Did that look like a Champions result? Coming back from 1-0 down in 9 minutes to win it 3-1.
Yeah, I believe so. We were just saying a minute ago, I think Liverpool are the only team who really look really confident when they play. But the problem with this is they keep having these comebacks a little bit too regular.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, I mean, they've got Chelsea next at home, which is definitely going to be a tough game. But that Southampton game showed a lot of heart in that Liverpool squad and showed that they do want to win this league.
Yeah, I agree. I think that performance definitely was a Champions performance. That comeback was brilliant. I feel like if they do win the league, they'll look back at this game today and be like, I feel like that was the turning point. I do. So yeah, I feel like that was a great comeback from Liverpool.
Sorry, I've got a very big smile at the moment. Is this title race going to go all the way? Is it going to go all the way to the last game of the season, which is Wolves for Liverpool and Brighton for Man City?
Yeah. Oh well, I think by the time Manchester City play their game in hand against Manchester United, I think we'll start to really see who's going to come through. I think by then, within at least 3 games to go, we'll know who's going to win the title.
Yeah, I'd hope to see it go to the last day because last time that happened, it was amazing. So, but I think that Man City-Man United game is absolutely crucial, and I agree with Piers. It's going to be that game.
Well, jumping from the top half of the top 4, we're going to go to the sort of the big top 4 battle, and Arsenal played. And, well, are there chances of the top 4 slipping away? They didn't win at Everton. They lost 1-0. Is that going to be a turning point for their season? We said it with Manchester United, didn't we?
Yeah, it's a funny one with Arsenal because they're undefeated at home in 2019, but they've only won 1 game away.
And that was at Huddersfield. That was by a goal.
It's really crazy. I'm really surprised. I would have thought 2-3 weeks ago that Arsenal were going to finish 3rd. But now I'm not too sure because the next 3 away games are the teams in the top 10. You've got Watford, who have just qualified for the FA Cup final. Wolves, who have been in amazing form, have done brilliantly against the top 6 this season. And then they've got Leicester, who've won like 4 and 5. So I would be worried if I was an Arsenal fan.
Well, Dan, do you think that their top 4 chances of slipping away? We saw Chelsea won at home against West Ham, and I think now everybody's got a game in hand on everybody. Do you think that Arsenal's sort of chances are going now with it, Chelsea winning and everybody got a game in hand against them?
Yeah, I think so. Coming up to the tail end of the season, you need to keep winning games. And I didn't even know that stat, actually, about the Arsenal away games. No.
Well, I'm going to beat you on that one. It's actually they've only won 5 games this season away from home out of 15. I'll beat you on that.
Wow. So, yeah, they need to improve that away form if they're going to be in the top 4, don't they?
They do. Well, that's all our Premier League action we've got. And now we're going to go to the FA Cup. The first semi-final, which was Man City-Brighton, didn't live up to expectations of narrow win by Man City, scoring in the 3rd minute from Jesus. There's only one big moment from that match, and that was Kyle Walker's attempted headbutt on a Brighton player. I can't remember his name is, unfortunately. VAR did look at it, and they didn't give us red. What was your thoughts on it? Because it was a headbutt.
Yeah, it is a headbutt. I find this the same with like the penalties. It's like technically from the rules, yes, it is, and it is a red card offence. But when you look at it, really, it wasn't much of a big deal. I mean, it's a bit of aggression, and afterwards it's fine. But obviously, if the Brighton player had gone down and made a big fuss, and there was a 10-man crowd around him, then maybe the red card would have been given.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it was a red card offence. I don't think you should react like that. I feel like if the Brighton player reacted, it would have been a red card. It was good that they used VAR for that. But yeah, I think that could have been a red card on a different day.
Well, I think it was a red card. I think when there's a headbutt, I think it has to be a red, because I think I've learned from over the years, if it's a headbutt, you're off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they seem to now be, if you touch the heads, that's not a red card. It's just, it's a yellow and a warning. Toodaloos. Go and play the next 90 minutes of the match.
I mean, in the Champions League game last night, Fernandinho elbowed Harry Kane in the back of the head, and there's nothing from that.
Madness. Well, we're going to jump to the other game, which was madness. Watford pulled off a thrilling comeback against Wolves, 2-0 down. Looked like they're going out of the FA Cup. Deulofeu comes on, wins 3-2. Do Watford look like the dark horses? Do you think they can pull it off against Man City?
Yeah, I really do. I think Watford have had a really good season. They're beating. They beat Spurs early in the season. I'm trying to think what other games they've done. They've done really well against the top 6, but coming into this final, they should feel no pressure, because if they lose, they've lost to one of the greatest English sides there are, and if they win, it'd be absolutely amazing. And the players that how the players have worked together this season has been stunning, really. Them and Wolves. I think Wolves deserve a lot of credit as well, because it's their first season in the Premier League in 7 years, and they've done really well themselves as well.
Yes, well, Dan, I'm going to read you out a very concerning stat about Watford. They've never won against Man City. The only time they won against them was in 1998 in the Championship.
Wow.
Should they be concerned that they haven't won against Man City in that long?
Yeah, they should. I feel like they should be concerned, but I feel like they can do it. I think Man City aren't. They didn't really play well against Brighton. They lost yesterday against Tottenham. I think Watford can be confident going into that. And I just want to mention Deulofeu's goal.
That was a brilliant one.
Yeah, I love that. That
Oh.
was so nice to watch.
That was literally just like he couldn't have done that any better if he
No.
tried harder. And also with Man City, the last time they were in a final, they lost to Wigan, and they got relegated. Is that something they should be concerned about? Because they haven't done well in the FA Cup finals.
Yeah, it's a bit funny. It's quite surprising when you look at it, really, that Man City haven't really won domestic trophies like that more. But I don't know what's going to happen. I guess it all depends on the league and the Champions League, doesn't it? Because Man City could easily go out there and maybe beat Watford 3-4-0. I believe they beat them at home in the earlier in the season 4 or 5-1. But I wouldn't be surprised if Watford won, because you saw what they've done against Wolves. They just don't die.
That's true. Well, I'm going to ask you both to predict who will win the FA Cup final between Man City and Watford. Dan,
I'm going to say Man City.
why?
I know I said Watford earlier, but I've changed my mind.
Commentator's curse right now.
I just think Man City have too much quality over Watford. I think Watford will put up a good fight, but I don't know. It's tough to predict, really, isn't it?
I'm just going to disagree, just because I guess it's more I want them to win.
Here we go.
I feel like Watford have just got the passion. I think they'll want it more on the day. That's what I believe, and that's why they'll win it.
Well, I don't think they'll win it. I think Watford will win it, sorry, because I don't want Man City to win the quadruple. Always forget about the quadruple. Well, when we come back, we're going to be doing a very interesting debate, actually, of why do you support your team and how do you become a support of your team here on IR Radio?
Pitchside Talk, footy debate from the Premier League Outback.
Yes, you did hear that right. This is Pitchside Talk on IR Radio from the Premier League Outbacks, because it's switched on in the Premier League. It could be in League One by next week.
Thank you for
I'm
mentioning that.
sorry.
I was going to say that.
I'm sorry, I'm just a brutal host. Well, we did tease in the last link that we've got a debate, and I'm actually going to ask both of you, why do you support your teams? Because I know you support two different teams, and how do you become a supporter of your teams?
Yeah, so I'm a Chelsea fan. I found this really interesting when you said this, because it does make you think, doesn't it? It goes, why do I live in Ipswich, I live in an East Anglian town, so why do I support a club from London? So basically, the way I did it is just that was natural because my brother, he watched a lot of football and he was always a Chelsea fan. So I guess as I grew up, I just watched them as well, and eventually you fall in love with the players and you fall in love with the club.
Yep. So I'm an Ipswich fan. Support the local side.
Ooh.
It's mostly because of my granddad. He was a season ticket holder for since he was basically alive. He took me to my first game, and since then I've been hooked, and I love going there now, even though we're bottom of the league. But
Ooh.
yeah, I'll always support Ipswich.
It could be all over tonight. It could be. Norwich could do it for you, but
Yeah.
they might wait until next week. Well, as you sort of said there with the family, is it down to a cultural thing being passed down through family? Is that important to have when you support your team?
I think it is. I don't think many people just pick a club, do they? Even though I think a lot of more people are just fans of football these days, I think there's still like these roots that get passed down of people supporting clubs. I mean, you find a lot of people support Manchester United, don't they? Because their dads did and stuff like that. But I'm not too sure, to be honest.
You're not too sure. What about you, Dan?
I think that is the main way people come to support their clubs, from family. I think if that isn't passed down from that generation, there's not going to be as many fans going to games. So I think that's very important for the club, whoever you support.
Oh, well, I want to ask you, can a specific player have an effect on who you support?
Yeah, I believe it does. Maybe not for people within here. So say we live here and we support the Premier League, don't we? But I think people in other countries, maybe because, say, if I was to watch the NBA, which is obviously an American sport, I would follow a player such as like LeBron James. Whereas I think across the world, people do like even if you watched the Tottenham game last night, they have a very large South Korean audience now, and that's obviously due to Son. And I think other players you see in the past, John Barnes, and then also Gabriel Jesus. He's got a big following from Brazil, for Manchester City.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's mostly from people not from England. You see it in other sports as well, don't you? Like Formula One, you don't really support a team, you support a driver, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
So yeah, I think that does come into play in football as well. I feel like it's also mostly, I feel, bigger clubs, small clubs, though I feel like that doesn't really happen as much.
Well, you sort of mentioned it there, Piers, about sort of people going to support a specific player, like with Son at Tottenham. Is the way of football now, how we support teams, changing to more support and start player? We've seen that with Liverpool with Mo Salah. We saw that with Juventus when they signed Cristiano Ronaldo. They sold like 1 million odd T-shirts with his name on the back. Is football changing, and we rather now support a player than a club?
I think it is, but I also think that's quite good. I think it's more enjoyable. I think people have more of an open mind to football, because normally people are in their little group and they're stuck together, aren't they? And they hate these people because they support this club. But I think it's quite nice that people support a player. I think you enjoy more football and you get to watch more football as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think that when you're in a group, it's more as one, if you know what I mean. So if you support one player, if he changes club, you can go and support a different club, and you're more open, as Piers said. So yeah, I kind of agree with what Piers said.
Well, final question is the old way of trialism dying out? Because back in sort of the 50s and that, we used to support a team, and now it's supporting a player. Is this old way dying out?
I think definitely, local tribalism is, because I mean, even though we live in Ipswich, there's not that many Ipswich fans that I know, which is quite of a weird one, really. It's either you're Liverpool, Tottenham, Manchester United, Arsenal, or Chelsea, just basically the top 6 in the Premier League. I don't think that will die out, you supporting who your parents or your siblings support, but I think people will be more open. I think people enjoy football more. Like, I can watch a Liverpool game and be like grateful for the football that they play and be happy to watch them and like to see English teams do well.
Yeah, I think it's dying out as well. I mean, I'm an Ipswich fan, and even I don't know many Ipswich fans myself. I feel like locally now, you don't really see as many as you would, say, back in the 50s, as you said. So yeah, I think it is dying out.
Well, that's a very fascinating opinion here on IO Radio, and I tell you, I feel quite good after that, don't you?
Pitchside Talk. Talk on IO Radio.
You did hear that right. It is Pitch Side Talk on our radio. And unfortunately, we've run out of time. We're going through extra time. The referee's about to blow his whistle. What have we got coming up next week on the show, guys?
So next week we'll be speaking about hopefully some amazing Champions League games. We'll be speaking about the Premier League and see if that's got even tighter. And we're having a little debate about a local team called Ipswich Town.
I look forward to that.
You're looking. I can see the smile on your face already. You're looking forward to it. You're going to be butchering them, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening to the show. We'll join you next week. It should be a really good one next week. We'll find out who's going to be through in the Champions League and see if Man U can pull off a brilliant victory against Barcelona. Hope it won't happen. And we'll see you next week, won't we?
Yeah.
So.
See you. Bye.
The whistle has been blown for full time. Tune in next week for another jam-packed show.